My hands are shaking so hard I can barely hold the door handle. Through the thin wood, I can hear shuffling footsteps, slow, careful, like someone who's learned to move through the world quietly. My heart is hammering against my ribs so violently I'm sure he'll hear it before I even knock. 20 years. 20 years of believing my father chose pills and strangers over me. 20 years of thinking I wasn't worth staying for. The door opens. Time stops. The man standing in front of me has my eyes, the same dark brown I see in the mirror every morning, but his face is weathered, thinner than I remember. His hair is streaked with gray, and his hands. God, his hands are shaking just like mine. Sarah? His voice cracks on my name like it's something sacred. Me Nina, how did you? I can't speak. I can't breathe. The smell hits me first, coffee and soap, the same aftershave he wore when I was 8 years old. It's him. It's really him. The hospital sent your medical records to my apartment by mistake, I managed to whisper, holding up the crumpled package that started this whole impossible journey. I live 2 blocks away. I've been living 2 blocks away. His face crumples. He covers his mouth with both hands, and I watch 20 years of grief and hope collide in his eyes. Dios mío, he breathes. You've been so close this whole time. That's when I see it, pinned to the wall behind him, yellowed newspaper clippings about local graphic designers. Articles about young Portland artists. He's been looking for me. All this time, while I thought he'd forgotten I existed, he was collecting pieces of the life I built without him. I never stopped loving you, he whispers, and something inside my chest that's been frozen for 2 decades finally cracks open. Not for a single day. My alarm goes off at 6 a.m. every single morning, just like it has for the past 3 years. Coffee first, always black, always in the same blue ceramic mug I bought at a garage sale when I first moved to Portland. Then emails, checking in with clients who need logos redesigned or websites refreshed. I've built a nice little freelance graphic design business from my studio apartment, nothing fancy, but it pays the bills and keeps me busy. Luna, my rescue tabby, judges me from her perch on the windowsill while I work. She's got this way of staring that makes me think she knows I'm avoiding something, but cats are good at keeping secrets, so we get along just fine. My apartment is small but organized, everything in its place, no clutter, no chaos. People who visit always comment on how put together everything looks. Clean lines, neutral colors, nothing too personal on display. I tell them I like minimalism, but the truth is, I've never been good at collecting things that matter. Possessions feel temporary to me, like they could disappear without warning. I have a routine for everything. Grocery shopping on Sundays, gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays, client calls between 8 and 10 a.m. My neighbor Mrs. Chin waves when she sees me in the hallway, and we exchange pleasantries about the weather or complain about the building's heating system. Surface-level stuff. Safe territory. The other neighbors are friendly enough, young professionals mostly, people who moved here for work and don't plan to stay long. We're all just passing through, which suits me fine. I learned early that getting too attached to places or people is a recipe for disappointment. My phone buzzes with a text from my college friend Jessica, "Wine night Friday?" It's been forever. I stare at the message for a long moment before typing back, "Rain check?" Big project deadline. It's not entirely a lie, there's always a project, but really, I just don't know how to explain why social gatherings feel exhausting lately. People always ask about my family at these things. Are you close with your parents? Any siblings? I've perfected the art of changing the subject with a smile and a question about their lives instead. Much easier than explaining that my father walked out when I was 8 and my mother raised me to believe that men leave when life gets difficult. That love comes with conditions and expiration dates. My mother calls every few weeks, usually when she's between boyfriends or having problems at work. Our conversations follow the same script. She complains about her job at the department store, asks if I'm seeing anyone, then launches into stories about her neighbors or whatever drama is happening in her small town. I listen and make appropriate sounds, but there's always this distance between us, like we're speaking through glass. She never mentions my father. Not once in 20 years. It's like he never existed, like those first 8 years of my life with him were a dream I made up. Sometimes I wonder if she's forgotten that I remember him at all, the way he used to make pancakes on Saturday mornings, how he'd let me help with his construction projects in the garage, the sound of his laugh when I'd tell him jokes I'd learned at school. But whenever those memories surface, I push them down. What's the point of missing someone who chose to leave? Who decided you weren't worth the effort? Instead, I focus on work. Design is safe, problems have solutions, clients have clear expectations, projects have definite endings. There's satisfaction in taking something messy and making it clean, purposeful, beautiful. My apartment reflects that same philosophy: controlled, contained, complete. At night, after I've finished my work and fed Luna and tidied up the already tidy space, I sometimes catch myself staring out the window at the lights in other apartments. Families having dinner together, couples arguing then making up, children being tucked into bed. Normal life happening all around me while I exist in this carefully constructed bubble of independence. I tell myself I prefer it this way. No complications, no one to disappoint, no one who can walk away and leave me picking up the pieces. But sometimes, in those quiet moments before sleep, I wonder what it would feel like to belong somewhere. To someone. To have a place in the world that couldn't be taken away with a forwarding address and a broken promise. The doorbell rings at 11:23 a.m., cutting through the quiet hum of my laptop fan. I'm not expecting anything. My last order from Amazon arrived 3 days ago, and I always know exactly what's coming and when. Through the peephole, I see a delivery driver shifting her weight from foot to foot, a medium-sized package tucked under her arm. She's middle-aged with graying hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing the familiar brown uniform that usually means someone else's day is about to get better. "Sarah Martinez," she asks when I open the door. "That's me. I'm so sorry to bother you, honey." Her voice carries genuine frustration. "This package is addressed to apartment 2B, but I've been trying to deliver it for 3 days now. Nobody's answering, and honestly, I don't think anyone's lived there for months. Would you mind holding on to it? Maybe slip it under their door when they move in?" The package is heavier than I expect when she hands it over, wrapped in brown paper that's slightly damp from yesterday's rain. The address is written in careful block letters: Miguel Santos, 1847, Cedar Street, apartment 2B. My building, wrong apartment. Return address is Portland General Hospital, she continues, checking her handheld device. Patient records department. Probably important stuff, you know? I'd hate for it to get lost in the system. Something cold settles in my stomach at the words patient records. I sign her electronic tablet, my handwriting looking shaky next to the confident strokes of the address label. After she leaves, I stand in my doorway holding the package, feeling its weight. There's something that shifts inside when I move it, not fragile, but substantial. Personal. Back in my apartment, I set it on the kitchen counter and stare. Miguel Santos. The name feels familiar somehow, like a song I heard once but can't quite place. I try Googling it, but there are thousands of Miguel Santos in Portland alone. For hours, it sits there while I work, this brown paper mystery taking up space in my carefully ordered world. Luna keeps sniffing around it, her tail twitching with curiosity that mirrors my own. By evening, I've convinced myself it's probably just routine medical paperwork, appointment reminders, billing statements, nothing worth the guilt I'd feel about opening someone else's mail. But patient records from the hospital? That suggests something more serious. Something someone might actually need. The rational part of my brain says to leave it alone, wait for the mysterious Miguel Santos to claim apartment 2B. But there's another part, quieter and more insistent, that whispers, what if it's important? What if he's moved and doesn't know this package exists? What if opening it could actually help? My fingers trace the edge of the packaging tape, and I wonder when I became the kind of person who talks myself into crossing lines I'd never normally cross. I wait until Luna is asleep before I touch the package again. It's past midnight, and the building has settled into that deep quiet that makes every small sound feel amplified. My hands shake slightly as I peel back the tape, telling myself I'll just peek inside, then seal it back up before anyone knows the difference. The brown paper falls away to reveal a manila folder, thick with documents, and underneath, a small stack of letters tied with a faded rubber band and a jewelry box the size of my palm. My breath catches. Something about those letters. I open the folder first. Medical records, just as expected. But at the top of the first page, in stark black type, patient, Miguel Santos. Date of birth, March 15, 1965. Emergency contact, Elena Martinez. The world tilts. Elena Martinez. My mother's maiden name. But that's impossible because my father's name was David Martinez, not Miguel Santos. My mother told me that 1,000 times growing up. My hands are trembling now as I untie the rubber band around the letters. The envelopes are yellowed with age, and the handwriting on the front makes my heart stop completely. It's my handwriting. My 8-year-old, carefully practiced cursive, para papa. For Daddy. Letters I wrote but never sent. Letters my mother said she threw away because there's no point writing to someone who doesn't want to hear from you. I recognize every single one. The letter about my first loose tooth. The one where I drew a picture of our family as stick figures holding hands. The story I wrote about the dog I wanted us to get together someday. With shaking fingers, I open the first envelope. Inside, my childhood handwriting fills a piece of construction paper in purple crayon. Dear Daddy, I hope you come home soon. I made you a drawing of the treehouse we're going to build. Love, Sarah. 20 years later, I can still remember sitting at the kitchen table, tongue poking out in concentration as I drew that treehouse, 2 rectangles connected by a ladder, surrounded by lopsided hearts. But how are these here? How does Miguel Santos have letters I wrote to my father? The jewelry box sits heavy in my palm. I know what's inside before I open it, but seeing it still makes me gasp out loud. The silver locket I made in Mrs. Peterson's art class in 2nd grade, painted with clumsy flowers and filled with a photo of me and my dad at the zoo. I'd given it to him for Father's Day, and he wore it on his keychain until he left. My mind races, puzzle pieces clicking into place with sickening clarity. Miguel Santos has my letters. Miguel Santos has my locket. Miguel Santos' emergency contact is my mother. The medical records blur as tears fill my eyes, but I force myself to focus on the dates, 1995 to 2004. Chronic pain management. Back injury. Multiple surgeries. If Miguel Santos has my father's belongings, if Miguel Santos shares an emergency contact with my father, if Miguel Santos was receiving medical treatment during the exact years my father disappeared from my life. Miguel Santos is my father, I whisper to the empty apartment. But that means everything my mother told me was a lie. My father didn't abandon us for another woman. He didn't choose drugs over his family because he stopped loving me. David Martinez never existed, Miguel Santos was his real name, and somehow, for 20 years, I've been living under a fiction my mother created. I'm holding proof that my father kept every letter I ever wrote him, carried a locket with my picture, and listed my mother as his emergency contact even after she told me he never wanted to see us again. My chest feels tight, like I can't get enough air. All those years of believing I wasn't worth staying for. All those nights wondering what I'd done wrong, what I could have said or been that might have made him choose us. And he was Miguel Santos all along. A man whose medical records suggest he didn't abandon anyone, he was fighting battles I never knew existed, carrying my childhood love letters through whatever hell kept him away from me. The package feels different in my hands now. Not a mistake or a coincidence. a breadcrumb trail back to a father I thought had forgotten I ever existed. I don't sleep that night. Instead, I sit at my laptop, searching Miguel Santos Portland construction until my eyes burn. The internet gives me fragments: employment records at Davidson Construction through 2003, a workers' compensation claim in 2004, then nothing. Like he vanished. By dawn, I've printed out a list of addresses, phone numbers, and leads that might not lead anywhere. My first call is to Davidson Construction. The receptionist sounds bored until I mention Miguel's name. "Oh honey, Miguel hasn't worked here in years. Had a bad fall from scaffolding, messed up his back real good. Poor guy tried to come back too soon, made it worse." Her voice softens with genuine concern. "Haven't heard from him since maybe 2005? 2006? The next address on my list is a duplex in Southeast Portland. The current tenant, a college student with paint-stained fingers, shakes his head. Never heard that name. But the landlord might know. This place has a lot of turnover. The landlord, reached by phone, remembers Miguel. Quiet guy, always paid rent on time until the medical bills got too bad. Had to evict him eventually, broke my heart, but business is business. That was, Christ, must be 15 years ago. Each conversation chips away at the fiction I've lived with. This isn't a man who abandoned his family on a whim. This is someone whose life unraveled after an injury, who fell through cracks I never knew existed. At the third address, a boarding house that smells like cigarettes and disappointment, the manager squints at me through thick glasses. "Miguel Santos, yeah, he stayed here a while. Sweet man, talked about his daughter constantly. My heart lurches. Said he was going to get clean, get stable, find her again. But the pain." She shakes her head. "Some people, the hurt goes too deep." "When was this?" My voice sounds foreign to me. "Oh, years back. He'd show me pictures, little girl with dark hair, big smile. Carried them everywhere in his wallet along with these letters she'd written him. I have to grip the doorframe to stay upright." "What happened to him?" "Moved out one day. Left some things behind, couldn't carry much, I guess. Poor thing was barely getting by on disability." Her eyes grow suspicious. "You family?" "I can't answer that. Am I family to a man I haven't seen in 20 years? To someone whose real name I just learned yesterday? At home, I call my mother for the first time in a month. She answers on the fourth ring, sounding distracted. Sarah. What a surprise. I was just. Mom, I need to ask you about Miguel Santos." The silence stretches so long I wonder if the call dropped. "Where did you hear that name?" Her voice is sharp now, guarded. "His medical records were delivered to my apartment by mistake." I take a shaky breath. "Mom, is Miguel Santos my father?" "Sarah, sweetheart, you don't understand. Is David Martinez even real? Or did you make him up?" She starts crying then, ugly sobs that make my chest ache. "I was protecting you," she finally manages. "Do you think I wanted you to see your father like that? Living on the streets, choosing pills over his family? But he kept my letters, Mom. He carried my picture. That doesn't sound like someone who stopped caring. He was sick, Sarah. The accident, the pain medication, the depression, he wasn't the man you remembered. I thought it would be easier if you believed he'd moved on rather than watching him destroy himself." My mother's sobs echo through the phone, 20 years of carefully constructed lies crumbling between us. "I just wanted you to have stability. To not spend your childhood waiting for someone who might never get better. But I did spend my childhood waiting. I spent it believing I wasn't worth fighting for, wasn't worth staying clean for, wasn't worth the effort it takes to be a father. And somewhere in Portland, a man named Miguel Santos was carrying my letters and trying to become someone worthy of finding me again. Where is he now, Mom?" "I don't know, baby. I honestly don't know. The breakthrough comes when I call Portland General Hospital directly, my hands still shaking from the conversation with my mother. I've rehearsed what to say, but when the records clerk answers, my prepared speech dissolves. I received medical records that were misdelivered. I begin, my voice barely steady. For Miguel Santos. I'm trying to return them to him, but the address seems to be old. Let me check our system. The clicking of keyboard keys fills the silence. Oh yes, Mr. Santos. We've been trying to reach him about updating his contact information. Are you family? My throat closes. I might be his daughter. Hold on. More typing, then a pause that stretches forever. When she returns, her voice is gentler. Miss, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but Mr. Santos was here just last month for a follow-up appointment. The address we have on file is old, from before he became, well, before his housing situation changed. But he mentioned he was staying at the Cedar Street Transitional Housing Facility. Cedar Street. My street. Did you say Cedar Street? The words come out as a whisper. Yes, it's a facility that helps people transition out of homelessness. It's at, let me see, 1823, Cedar Street. The room spins. 1823, Cedar Street is 2 blocks from my apartment. 2 blocks. For months, maybe years, my father has been living 2 blocks away from me. I hang up without saying goodbye and run, actually run, down Cedar Street, my heart hammering against my ribs. The transitional housing facility is a converted motel, modest but clean, with small gardens tended by residents. The manager, Rosa, looks up from her desk when I burst through the door. She's a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and laugh lines that speak of someone who's learned to find joy in difficult places. I'm looking for Miguel Santos, I say, breathless. I think he might be my father. Rosa's face transforms, her mouth falling open in recognition. Dios mío, she breathes. You have his eyes. The same exact eyes. She comes around the desk, studying my face like she's solving a puzzle. Sarah? The sound of my name from this stranger's lips makes my knees go weak. He talks about me? Talks about you? Mija, he hasn't stopped talking about you for months. Room 7, that's Miguel. He's been saving every penny from odd jobs, trying to get stable enough to reach out. He hired a lawyer to help find you, got your mother's old address, but it was from before she moved. I sink into the plastic chair by her desk, overwhelmed. He's been looking for me? Looking for you? He's been preparing for you. Working with our counselors, staying clean, learning to manage his pain without medication. He talks about you every day, how proud he is, how he wants to be worthy of being your father again. Rosa pulls out a photo from her desk drawer, a newspaper clipping about local artists. There, in tiny print in a group photo from a design conference, is my face. My father cut this out of the paper. He saw this 6 months ago and knew it was you immediately. That's my Sarah, he said. She became an artist just like she wanted. He's been collecting these anything about young designers in Portland, hoping to spot your name. My vision blurs with tears I can't hold back. All this time, I thought he forgot about me. My mother told me he chose drugs over his family, that he didn't want to be found. Rosa's expression grows fierce. That man never chose anything over you. He made mistakes, yes, the pain, the medication, the depression after his accident, but he never stopped fighting to become someone you could be proud of. He used to say, I won't let Sarah see me like this. She deserves a father who can stand up straight and look her in the eye. She stands up, smoothing her skirt. He's in the workshop right now, building furniture for the new family apartments. Been doing it for free because he says it keeps his hands busy and his mind clear. She pauses at the door, her hand on the handle. Are you ready to see him? I nod, but I'm not ready at all. 20 years of believing I was abandoned, 20 years of thinking love was conditional, is about to collide with the truth that my father never left me, he was just learning how to come back. Room 7, Rosa whispers, but he's probably in the workshop behind the building. Just follow the sound of hammering. I sit in my car outside the transitional housing facility for 47 minutes, watching the sun move across the dashboard while my father hammers something in the workshop behind the building. The rhythmic sound drifts through my open window, steady, purposeful, alive. 47 minutes of holding the package in my lap like a shield, my phone buzzing with client calls I can't bring myself to answer. My entire carefully constructed life feels like it's balanced on the edge of this moment. What if he sees me and regrets all those years of wanting to reconnect? What if the daughter he's been imagining, successful, put together, worthy of his effort, doesn't match the reality of who I've become? What if 20 years of separation has built a wall too high to climb over? I think about the woman I am now, someone who keeps people at arm's length, who's never had a relationship last longer than 8 months because I always find reasons to leave first. Someone who lives in a pristine apartment with no personal photos on display because permanence feels dangerous. Is this the daughter he's been preparing for? My phone rings. It's my mother calling back, probably to explain more lies or beg me not to pursue this. I let it go to voicemail, but her words from earlier keep echoing. He was sick, Sarah. He wasn't the man you remembered. But what if that's exactly why I should go to him now? What if the man I remembered, the one who made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs and let me help paint the garage, what if he's still in there, just older and weathered and fighting battles I'm only beginning to understand? The hammering stops. In the sudden silence, I can hear my own heartbeat, can smell the coffee and sawdust drifting from the workshop. Somewhere behind that building is a man who kept my childhood letters for 20 years, who carried my picture through homelessness and addiction and recovery, who's been collecting newspaper clippings hoping to catch a glimpse of the woman I became. But I'm terrified of hope. Hope has been dangerous my whole life. It's what made me wait by the window for birthdays and Christmas mornings that passed without phone calls. Hope is what made me believe, year after year, that maybe this time he'd remember I existed. What if I walk into that workshop and see disappointment in his eyes? What if the reality of who I've become, guarded, damaged by his absence, breaks whatever fantasy has kept him going all these years? My hands shake as I grip the steering wheel. 20 years of believing I wasn't worth fighting for has carved deep grooves in who I am. Can one conversation really change the fundamental story I've told myself about my worth? About love? About whether people who leave can ever really come back? But then I think about Rosa's words, he's been preparing for you. Not just hoping, not just wishing, but actively working to become someone worthy of reconciliation. While I've been building walls, he's been tearing his down. Maybe courage isn't about not being afraid. Maybe it's about deciding that the possibility of healing is worth the risk of heartbreak. Maybe it's about choosing to believe that some stories can have different endings than the ones we've been telling ourselves. I look down at the package again, this accidental bridge between the life I thought I knew and the truth I'm afraid to face. Inside are my letters, proof that I once believed in unconditional love. Evidence that there was a version of me that trusted completely, that gave her heart without reservation. Maybe that girl is still in there too, waiting to see if it's safe to hope again. The workshop door opens, and I catch a glimpse of a man in a flannel shirt, gray hair catching the afternoon light. He's carrying a piece of wood, examining it with the careful attention of someone who takes pride in his work. He looks up, scanning the parking lot like he's sensed someone watching, and for a split second, our eyes meet across the distance. I think he knows. Even from here, even after 20 years, I think he knows exactly who's sitting in this car, holding his medical records and trying to find the courage to bridge the gap between yesterday's pain and tomorrow's possibilities. My hand reaches for the door handle. It's time to find out if some wounds can heal, if some absences can be forgiven, if some fathers and daughters can find their way back to each other. I knock on the door of room 7 at 3:47 p.m., my knuckles barely making contact with the thin wood. The sound echoes in the narrow hallway, followed by shuffling footsteps that stop just behind the door. When it opens, time fractures. He's smaller than I remember, thinner, with silver threading through hair that was once as dark as mine. His hands, calloused now, marked by years of physical work, tremble as they grip the doorframe. But his eyes are exactly the same warm brown I see in the mirror every morning. Sarah? My name breaks on his tongue like something sacred. Me Nina, how did you? I hold up the crumpled package, my own voice barely a whisper. The hospital sent your medical records to the wrong apartment. I live at 1847, Cedar Street, apartment 1A. His face crumples. He covers his mouth with both hands, and 20 years of grief and hope collide in his expression. Dios mío, you've been so close this whole time. We stand there frozen, two people separated by 20 years and 3 feet of hallway, neither knowing how to bridge the distance. Behind him, I can see his small room, immaculately clean, sparse but dignified. On the wall, newspaper clippings about local artists, and there, barely visible, a photo of an 8-year-old girl with pigtails. Can I come in? He steps back wordlessly, gesturing to the single chair while he perches on the edge of his narrow bed. The silence stretches between us, filled with everything we don't know how to say. I found the letters, I finally whisper. My letters. From when I was little. His composure shatters completely. I read them every night, he says through tears. Even when I had nothing else left, I had your words. The drawing you made of us building a treehouse together. The story about your first day of school. I pull out the worn envelopes from my bag. I thought Mom threw these away. She told me there was no point writing to someone who didn't want to hear from me. I wanted to hear from you every day of my life. His voice is fierce now, urgent. I never stopped wanting that, Sarah. Not when I was hurt, not when I was lost, not even when I hated myself so much I couldn't stand to look in a mirror. Why didn't you come back? Why didn't you call? He's quiet for a long moment, his hands working themselves in his lap. Because I was ashamed. Because the pain pills made me someone I didn't recognize. Because your mother was right, you deserved better than watching your father fall apart. But I thought you didn't love me anymore. Oh, Mija. He looks up at me, and his face is radiant with something between joy and heartbreak. I loved you so much it nearly killed me. I stayed away because I loved you, not because I stopped. He stands up slowly, walking to a small dresser, and pulls out a worn wallet. Inside, protected by plastic, is the photo from my locket me at 8 years old, grinning gap-toothed at the camera. I carried this everywhere. When I was sleeping in shelters, when I was working day labor, when I thought I'd never get clean. Rosa, the manager here, she says I used to show everyone this picture, tell them about my brilliant daughter who was going to be an artist someday. I'm crying now, ugly sobs that shake my whole body. I became a graphic designer. Just like I said I would in my letters. I know. He smiles through his own tears. I saw your picture in the paper 6 months ago. Local artists making their mark. I cut it out and knew immediately it was you. Same determination in your eyes. You've been following my career? I've been so proud of you, Sarah. So proud and so sorry that I wasn't there to see it happen. I stand up and cross the small space between us. When I hug him, he feels fragile and solid at the same time, and he smells like sawdust and the same aftershave from my childhood. I'm here now, I whisper into his shoulder. We're both here now. His arms tighten around me. I never stopped fighting to become the father you deserved. It took me longer than I hoped. We have time now, I tell him, and for the first time in 20 years, I believe it. We have all the time in the world. You know how sometimes people say everything happens for a reason, and you roll your eyes because it sounds like something you'd find on a coffee mug? I used to be one of those eye rollers. But sitting here now, 6 months after that misdelivered package landed on my doorstep, I can't help but believe that maybe, just maybe, the universe was paying attention after all. That morning, I thought I was just helping out a delivery driver. I had no idea I was about to get my father back. For 20 years, I built my entire identity around being abandoned. I was the girl whose dad chose other things over her, the woman who kept everyone at arm's length because people leave when life gets complicated. I lived in that pristine little apartment like I was preparing for the next person to walk out, no roots, no mess, nothing that couldn't be packed up and forgotten. But here's what I learned: my father never left me. Not really. He was fighting the hardest battle of his life while carrying my 8-year-old love letters in his pocket. He was sleeping in shelters and working odd jobs and going to therapy, also he could become someone worthy of finding me again. The healing didn't happen overnight. Those first few weeks were messy, awkward dinners where we didn't know how to talk to each other, phone calls that ended in both of us crying, family therapy sessions where we had to learn each other all over again. My mother eventually joined us for some of those sessions, and slowly, painfully, we began to untangle 20 years of protective lies and well-meaning deceptions. But God, the transformation. I wake up now and the first thing I think isn't about what might go wrong today. I make plans more than a week in advance. I bought a couch, an actual couch that requires a moving truck if I ever want to leave this place. I adopted another cat to keep Luna company because my apartment finally feels like a home worth sharing. Last month, I met someone. A guy named David who makes me laugh and doesn't run when I tell him about my complicated family situation. For the first time in my adult life, I'm not waiting for him to leave. Because I finally understand the difference between someone who chooses to go and someone who's forced to stay away. Miguel, I still call him Miguel because that's who he is now, the man who fought to come back to me. He's doing well. Really well. He moved into his own apartment 3 blocks away, has a steady job at a furniture restoration shop, and comes over for dinner every Sunday. We're building new memories on top of the old ones, and it turns out 20 years of separation can't erase the connection between a father and daughter who never really stopped loving each other. The most incredible part? He still has that treehouse drawing I made when I was 8. Last weekend, we actually started building one in the community garden behind his apartment complex, not for us, but for the kids who live there. While we worked, he told me stories about the jobs he's done over the years, how he'd think about me every time he built something beautiful. I used to think love was fragile, that it could be broken by time or distance or pain. But now I know that real love, the kind between a father and daughter, the kind that survives addiction and lies and 20 years of silence, that love is indestructible. It just sometimes gets buried under so much hurt that you forget it's there. That Misdelivered package didn't just bring me my father back. It taught me that some stories don't end when you think they do. Some people aren't really gone, even when they disappear. And sometimes, the most beautiful chapters of your life begin with the most ordinary moments, like signing for a package that was never meant to be yours in the first place. I'm standing outside that same door again, room 7 at the Cedar Street Transitional Housing, but this time I'm not trembling. This time, I'm carrying homemade empanadas and a bottle of his favorite coffee, and when Miguel opens the door, his whole face lights up like I'm the best thing that's happened to him all week. Which, according to him, I am. Mija. He pulls me into a hug that smells like sawdust and hope. Perfect timing. I just finished the bookshelf for your new apartment. 6 months ago, I stood in this same spot holding a crumpled package and 20 years of heartbreak. Today, I'm holding Sunday dinner and a future I never thought possible. The difference isn't just in what I'm carrying, it's in who I've become. We eat together in his small but warm apartment, talking about my week, his work at the furniture shop, the community garden where our treehouse is finally taking shape. Luna has claimed his favorite chair as her own, and he pretends to be annoyed while sneaking her treats when he thinks I'm not looking. After dinner, he shows me the thank you card from the family who moved into the apartment with the furniture he built. Their 7-year-old daughter drew a picture of their new home, complete with the dining table Miguel crafted by hand. "She reminds me of you," he says softly. "Same artist's heart. Walking home in the evening light, I think about that misdelivered package sitting on my bookshelf like a trophy. I used to believe it was the universe's mistake, a postal error that accidentally changed my life. Now I know better. Sometimes the most important deliveries arrive at exactly the wrong address at exactly the right time. Sometimes what looks like a mistake is actually a miracle wearing work clothes and asking you to sign on the dotted line. And sometimes the best way to find what you've lost is to stop looking and start helping someone else find their way home. That package wasn't misdelivered after all. It was delivered exactly where it needed to go, to a daughter who'd forgotten she was worth coming back for, from a father who never stopped believing that love finds a way. Even when it takes 20 years and a stranger's kindness to show up at your door.